It's time for today's Legal Minute with the Law Office of Cooley Schreer. That office is in Springfield. Today we're joined by attorney John Davis. We're talking about creditors and bankruptcy. For those of us who don't know, what's a creditor?
Well, generally speaking, a creditor is someone that's owed money. And in bankruptcy, it doesn't really matter whether that debt has been determined by a judgment, court order, or maybe an unknown amount, but it's still a debt, and one is a creditor if they're owed money.
So let's say somebody owes me money and they file for bankruptcy. What happens to my money? Well,
first off, if they file for bankruptcy, you've got to understand that one of the things that's going to happen is an automatic stay under the law goes into effect, which says you have to stop your efforts to collect that debt. You can't contact the debtor, you can't bring suit against the debtor, everything is stayed.
So you give them a little bit of a break.
That's correct, exactly. Now, once you're in bankruptcy, it's not necessarily true that because of bankruptcy you're never going to be repaid. Quite often you won't get repaid because debts are discharged, but there are exceptions. It may be possible that this debtor has non-exempt assets that he can't exempt, which would be available for creditors to be sold and have proceeds go to unsecured creditors or secured creditors. It's also possible you might have collateral for your debt. And in a bankruptcy, your right to pursue collateral may be stayed, but you don't lose the right. You still retain it. It may someday get paid from your collateral. It's also possible your debt may be non-dischargeable. For example, if the debtor invoked fraud or had misconduct when incurring the debt with you, that may be a non-dischargeable debt. And lastly, there's also chapters 13 and 11. In those sorts of bankruptcies, debts are repaid over time, portions of debt, not the entire debt, but there is an opportunity to perhaps get paid in those sorts of bankruptcies. So the fact that someone's filed for bankruptcy doesn't mean your debt is necessarily gone and you're never going to get paid.
Good. Now, going forward, let's say it happens to me. What's your recommendation in that scenario if someone is looking for money from someone who's filed for bankruptcy?
Well, first off, I would recommend that you act right away, because in bankruptcy there are a lot of deadlines. If you miss them, you can lose some rights. And so you really have to contact a bankruptcy attorney or a bankruptcy advisor, someone well qualified, because it's a complicated area of law. But do speak with somebody and find out whether or not your debt is likely going to be discharged or there is a possibility of collecting it someday.
And someone you can speak with is the folks at Cooley Schreer. Thank you so much. That's your Legal Minute. And for more information, call 413-781-0750 or visit them online, cooleyschreer.com.